Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Libby Saunier, and I'm the Executive Director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. As an independent source of data, research, and pertinent information for policymakers, the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children works to shed light on the state of early care and education in Louisiana. Alongside our partners, the Policy Institute has been surveying Louisiana child care providers since 2020 as a part of a larger effort to help understand the issues facing the child care sector in our state. This year's report, Ready to Thrive, the current challenges and opportunities facing Louisiana child care providers, was compiled from survey findings from February 15th through March 6, 2024. I'm grateful you all can be here today to hear from our panelists as they share the top 3 takeaways and insights from this survey. But before I introduce our moderator for today's press conference, I want to take a moment to thank our partners, Agenda for Children, the Child Care Association of Louisiana, Children's Coalition of Northeast Louisiana, For Providers by Providers, the Louisiana Association of the Education of Young Children, the Louisiana Association of United Ways, Northwestern State University, On Track by 5 Alliance, the Pointe Coupee Early Childhood Coalition, United Way of Southeast Louisiana, and Volunteers of America, South Central Louisiana, for helping to make this report possible. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to today's moderator, Madeline Karst-Batson, our Director of Policy and Research at the Policy Institute. Thank you for leading today's program, Maddie.
Thank you, Libby. I'm excited to serve as moderator for today's program as we share our 3 key findings from our report, Ready to Thrive. Over the last decade, Louisiana has made great strides in increasing the quality of early care and education in the state, and child care providers answered the call for increased quality. And in multiple surveys of child care providers and staff, they continuously share their commitment to and passion for educating and caring for children. However, they also share the struggles and challenges of working in early care and education, which include increasing costs, low wages, high staff turnover, and financial stress. This survey provides many helpful insights into the continued needs and challenges that the providers of early care and education in Louisiana face, which affect many families throughout the state. Throughout today's program, I encourage you to utilize Zoom's Q&A feature to share any questions you have. There will be dedicated time at the end of the event for a question and answer session where we will attempt to answer all of your questions. With that, it is my pleasure to now welcome our first speaker, Ariane Centino, owner of Centino Early Learning Academy in Orleans Parish, who will share about the continued high cost of quality care.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's an honor to be here with you today to discuss the experiences of child care providers. According to this latest survey, providers continue to confront challenges with increased cost of routine expenses. While fewer providers indicated they have experienced an increase in these costs compared to last year, still, a majority of our centers reported increases in food and beverages, cleaning and other supplies, as well as staffing costs. Additionally, we saw again this year that over 2/3 of providers saw their premiums for at least one type of business insurance increase, with annual premiums increasing by an average of almost $23,000, up from an average of $17,000 last year. The persistent increases in operating costs have taken a toll on providers. While experienced by less than half of providers, there was a significant increase in the number of providers who reported decreased enrollment and loss of revenue compared to 2023. As one provider said, it is getting really hard to survive with the cost of increased insurance premiums and groceries that just seem to be climbing higher and higher. I have also felt this pressure that comes with the rising cost of expenses, and in my center, we have felt that increase most dramatically in business insurance, but operating costs persist across the board, with inflation and increased staffing to support atypical behaviors can make it extremely difficult to break even in the childcare space.
Thank you, Ariane. Too many providers are having to stall quality improvements in order to pay for consistently increasing basic and routine expenses. Next, I am pleased to introduce Leanne Price, who is the owner and director of Foundations Christian Learning Center in Pineville, who actually, unfortunately, is unable to be with us this morning. What our survey found is that child care centers are usually small businesses, or they are, and provide a critical direct service to families. When a center is unable to maintain a quality and consistent staff, it impacts a family's ability to access childcare. The provider survey found that in the last year, nearly 80% of providers experienced at least one staffing cost increase or challenge, including paying higher wages to retain staff, hiring less qualified or experienced staff, and seeing new staff leave within 6 months of starting. Over 60% of providers worried about short and long-term staff turnover, and almost half of providers indicated that they have at least one job vacancy, with the average provider looking to fill 3 positions, mostly for lead teaching roles. Staffing challenges contribute to the long wait lists that are experienced by over 60% of childcare providers, who on average have 35 children waiting to access care, most of whom are children under age 3. Providers also cited families waiting for the Child Care Assistance Program approval and being at capacity as factors that contributed to their maintaining a wait list. Statewide CCAP wait lists make it difficult for working families to afford childcare, and that impacts providers also. As one provider in the survey said, the delays with CCAP are crippling to the families and reflect loss of revenue at the center level. Childcare businesses allow caregivers to work and go to school. They are literally the business that helps all other businesses operate. With 4 out of 5 in-need children ages birth through 3 unable to access quality childcare, waitlists present another barrier for working families. In fact, statewide, over 5,500 children are currently waiting on the CCAP waitlist, and these children do qualify for CCAP, but due to insufficient funding are unable to access care. Early childhood education truly is the backbone of our economy. Whether you're dialing in from Louisiana or joining us from afar, we are so glad you are here with us today. I'd like to remind you to utilize the Q&A box with any questions that you may have. Next, please join me in welcoming our Early Childhood Leader of the Year, Rakisha Walker, owner of Bright Star Daycare in Iberville Parish. Rakisha, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Maddie. The Policy Institute latest survey shows that wages continue to trend upward, while wages continue to trend upward, they remain below a livable wage standard, and employees continue to receive few workplace benefits. Although early childhood educators are credentialed professionals and observed and evaluated as much as, if not more than, their K-12 peers, their average wages statewide based on the survey result is just over $13 an hour. For providers that lost staff in 2024, almost half of the department employees cited that higher wages at the new job was the reason for leaving, and providers who paid lower wages were more likely to worry about staff turnover in the short and long term. To offset wage challenges and to encourage retention of quality staff, over 90% of providers provide at least one workplace benefit. The most common is bonus or incentive pay and paid vacations. However, less than half of providers are able to offer paid sick days or even Even fewer are able to offer health insurance or retirement benefits. As a child care provider, I offer paid time off, 3 paid holidays, and learning incentives, which significantly help in recruiting and retaining high-quality staff and teachers. While I would love to do more for my staff, our current budget limitations make it very difficult.
Thank you, Rakisha, and again, congratulations on being Leader of the Year. Maintaining a high-quality staff means that children are learning to their greatest ability, and parents are able to reliably participate in the workforce. We know that when parents are not able to access childcare, they are often forced to arrive to work late, leave early, miss work entirely, or quit. This disrupts a child's opportunity for kindergarten readiness and a family's financial stability. And our broader economy suffers the consequences too. To share some insights into what Louisiana can do to better support childcare providers, we have Megan Garrettson, owner of Young Scholars Academy in East Baton Rouge Parish. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Maddie. As Louisiana looks ahead and seeks to become a top location for families to live and work, we must consider the role childcare plays in achieving that goal. To support its continued growth, Louisiana must reconsider allowing early care and education community networks to process the Child Care Assistant Program applications and conduct eligibility determinations to support decreased processing times for families. Support early educator workforce development, recruitment, and retention efforts through expanding training and certification programs in high schools, exploring strategies to increase compensation, and providing categorical Child Care Assistant Program eligibility to child care professionals. Foster a robust business environment for child care providers, which provide critical support to other businesses and the state economy. Continue to explore insurance reform and expanding economic development program offerings. Explore implementation of a competitive wage scale for early educators to better align with the credentials and experience levels of the profession. Consider categorical eligibility and phased income threshold for childcare workers for certain benefit programs. This will include Medicaid to prevent the unintended consequences of the benefit cliffs. With these investments, we'll see the children prepared for success in school and life. Working parents and caregivers maintaining workforce participation, employers, including childcare providers, having a reliable workforce with minimal interruptions, and communities throughout the state enjoying robust employment rates, economic growth, and tax revenues.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you to all our speakers for taking the time to join us today and share these critical findings. We'll now transition into the question and answer portion of today's event. The first question I have for our panelists, who are welcome to now come back on with their cameras, is: what signs of improvement have you seen in the early care and education system over the last year? And anyone is welcome to take this question first.
I'll jump in. This is Ariane Centino. I will say that we've had positive support and engagement from our lead agency. I'm based in Orleans Parish, and I see the engagement with Agenda for Children, supporting providers, being really a positive impact on our organization. I see that as a positive sign, absolutely.
I will jump in. Megan Garrettson, owner of Young Scholars Academy. I will echo, we have seen a lot of community come together, and it's very hopeful for me to be able to be a part of organizations like the Louisiana Policy Institute, Go Far Louisiana, and the Child Care Association of Louisiana and our network, East Baton Rouge, has really come together to support one another, but not only the providers, but the parents and the teachers as well, so that we can come together and have a complete whole to make sure we have all the pieces to make our masterpiece of a puzzle, because as they say, it takes a village.
Yeah.
All right. We have a question in the Q&A box that says, I have a parent that has 3 children. She was just certified and placed on the CCAP waitlist, I'm assuming. She can only pay $120 every 2 weeks for childcare. My question is, she submitted her application in January 2024. When will she be taken off the wait list, and when will payment start for her? Because this $120 every 2 weeks is not enough, but she is a single parent. And I can actually take this one because of the wait list with CCAP. It is good that the parent went ahead and applied, and it can hold their place from an applicant in January. But from what I understand, the department is still only processing people off of the wait list from 2023. So there will be some wait time. We hope that can change. But we, as of right now, with there actually being a decrease in state funding this past legislative session, we are uncertain of how quickly the department will be able to move through their wait list. But from what I understand, they are working on 2023. So that parent should expect to unfortunately have to wait several months. The next question I have is, have you ever seen child outcomes improve as teachers move from new in the classroom to credentialed educators? What help keeps teachers developing professionally?
I think this is a great question. I would absolutely say that I've seen child outcomes improve. As we start to make the requirement that we need quality educators in these spaces, we've been leaning on the Child Development Associate, the CDA, as being the credential for that. And as we move people who are new to childcare through that, in my instance, a 6-month program, we've absolutely seen those individuals become equipped, understand developmentally appropriate practices, understand child development in general, get equipped with the tools and strategies that they need to support children and their development. So we see the impact being profound. One of the other things that I think is important is that we do provide bonuses to staff members who do that, as a way to continue to incent them to grow professionally.
Yes.
I will piggyback again. We do the same, and we have also implemented what's called a teacher mentor. When we see a teacher that is a star, that is shining bright, we always pair one who is new to the field or just completed their CDA, which is their Child Development Associates, and she or he would mentor the new teacher to show what things look like and offer real-time feedback on what's working, what's not working, how do you get through this type of situation, and so that they can have practice. I find the best results come from hands-on experience and working collaboratively with your co-teachers.
And I would just agree with what they say. And I do see that there are more quality programs to offer more professional development. There's professional development in all different regions now that's very helpful. And that's why I push for PD days for my staff and other centers around me, because they're very important. It's so much you learn in those PD days that you can bring back to your center, mainly the social and emotional growing and learning of young children and how that benefits them when they get ready to go to school and even later on in life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Our next question is, what impact has challenging behaviors had on staff retention?
Challenging behavior plays a big part in staff retention, and that's going back to the professional development training. There's training provided to help you deal with behaviors. If you have a biter in the class, you would want to put things in the class that they can bite on. If you have a clamor in the class, maybe you want to do an activity where they can clam. So it's challenging, but it's doable with the right resources and the right help from the directors and others in the center. You can make it work with the different behaviors.
I will agree, and also kind of tying into the first question of what we've seen an improvement on. We have TIC's Mental Help, which partners with Volunteers of America. And through the different organizations that I have mentioned, learning who is the right person to reach out to. When we have challenging behaviors, we've been able, in even early steps, been able to reach out to them, have them come in the facility because they specialize in certain things, and have them assess in the classroom. And what's been really magical is they've been more receptive. I've been doing this for 13 years, and I feel like it's a true partnership now. And they're actually allowing our teachers to step in on the one-on-one and get that training. So that, because sometimes they'll only come once or twice a week and the child needs more. So we're able to meet the same things that they do in those sessions every single day in the classroom. So it's been really nice to get that extra support. And I hope that in time that everyone can see the benefits, so we could have true wraparound services and early care and education as well. I think that would also help with behavior and especially with staff retention. And I hope to see that we can touch the children before it even becomes an issue in K through 12. And wraparound services would definitely benefit that.
Yeah, I echo that. I tell you, I think that this is the quintessential issue that's facing my child care center. Like this is where all of my energy is pretty much focused. And I think that it starts with the educator. I think it starts with really giving the educator a voice related to what the challenges are. What are the most stressful times of the day? Is it morning? Is it lunch? Is it nap? Is it what types of support do you need? We too have a relationship with Thrive that acts as a partner to early steps and all the other components, but it's a pretty holistic approach because we have to rather make sure that the parents are engaged in this process as well, that we're working collaboratively in that regard. But we've just been, having conversations, one-on-ones, conversations with our staff to provide them with support real time in areas that they really need it. But it has, at least for us, required additional staff members to be able to, let them tag out. Sometimes they need 15 minutes, they need a break, they need to be able to recover. And many of our educators are suffering from caregiver fatigue. And we just need to be mindful of that as well.
Yes, we need to care for our kids and for our educators too. And definitely intervening early goes a really long way for children when they enter the K-12 system. So Ariane just shared with us that maybe one of her biggest individual challenges as a provider is learning how to best support teachers and how to best support them with teaching their young children. But Ariane, you're welcome to give into this too. But for the other two panelists, what would you say is your biggest individual challenge as a provider right now?
I would say
For myself,
you
okay. One of the major challenges I'm having right now is balancing affordable care with the need to offer competitive wages and benefits to retain quality educators. So we want to be able to not we want to be able to make it affordable for the parents. However, we need to bring revenue in so that we can give our teachers and staff the pay that they deserve. So right now, that's a challenge for me, because how do you balance the two? You increase tuition, which may drive away some parents and children, but then you need the increase in order to pay your staff what they deserve.
My challenge will also tie into Rakisha's and I think from a even bigger perspective of what our state can do better for our industry is especially for me, our food costs, and I've compared receipts, are up like 78%. And so it is more than half. And I think that's a problem. If we are going to educate our children, we have to feed them too. And so I think getting those food costs down will allow us to not increase the tuition of the families and help us run as a small business, right? Which is where our tax revenue comes from for our state. So I think that we have to work together, because as stated, every business depends on our childcare business so that they can go to work. And even
Yes.
coming like with the insurance reform, in one of my insurance, we require multiple, but I'll just give one, for example. There was an increase of $23,000 for insurance alone to protect my building. And that's a problem. That's an entire employee salary. And even down to computer equipment, I manage mine with QuickBooks. When I bought my center about 7 years ago, it was $25. Today, $65. 65. So if you take that with every single bill, you can imagine that the cost of providing the same quality care from 5 years ago is about a 70% increase. So the bigger question is, where is that support to us as childcare providers? Where is that support to us? Because in order for us to continue, we need support. And that is in the form of money at this point in time to help with this childcare crisis and to get costs down to continue to provide and not have to close our doors. We need support in the form of money.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't more strongly echo that. Like, there's a real gap between the quality that we're expected to deliver and the resources that we have to meet that quality expectation. Many of us are, beginning the cycle in terms of having folks come into our center and evaluate us on class. Well, we need to have, teachers who are skilled, who are equipped, that all of those, the training and professional development resources, the entire industry. I mean, I hate to, my analogy is always like, when you have a business and you have 1-to-4 ratio, you have literally one, employee for 4 little customers that you're taking care of. No business is that labor intensive, and they all have to be trained and equipped in making sure that they're providing developmentally appropriate practices. So the real disconnects, the disruptions related to CCAP and the delays and getting the revenue and the wait list, that has a real impact on our bottom lines, our economics, and it just makes it really, really difficult for us to close that economic gap.
Thank you for being
agree.
so authentic, all of you, on what your challenges are. You'll probably kind of chuckle when I ask this next question that we have, but I'm going to try anyway. If you were given the chance to invest a large sum of money into one section of your childcare center, what would you spend the money on and why?
I'll jump in. I think that for me, everything is, we're okay from an operational, standpoint in the sense of our facilities and our infrastructure there. So our footprint is fine. The real challenge for us is staffing. and stabilizing and developing your staff. So I would take that, lump sum of money, and I would put it in the form of pay for performance bonuses, like a real incentive, because sometimes we, other than from a credential standpoint, if all teachers have a CDA, there might be a salary structure that the providers have related to that. But how much are we able to really compensate or value those employees that are really the rock stars, the anchors of each of our centers? And we all know who they are. I mean, without those folks, right, it makes it very difficult for the organization to run. There needs to be an incentive that identifies them. So in the same way that we have the Louisiana level, that we recognize the leaders of the year, that they could be programs at our individual centers that we're highlighting those really qualified staff and supporting them with bonuses, et cetera, that really have an impact and hopefully will act as an incentive and a motivator to the remaining folks who aren't quite there yet. And I think employee retention bonuses are really important. Many of our educators are struggling. I mean, that's, August is a difficult month for them. Kids are headed back to school. December is a difficult month for them. So when we can strategically place resources in those spaces to help them to close those gaps in their own families, I think it would make a much more effective and productive employee.
I will piggyback. That was beautifully said. So for the sake of not taking the same answer, because it's a given that that would be a number one, I'm going to throw another fun one in there. I have wanted to expand my center, but trying to keep up with costs, it hasn't been able. We have always had a wait list, and I would expand my center, but put a huge indoor obstacle course, because we all know in Louisiana how hot it is, and we have to keep taking water breaks and cool down breaks and break it up. But also, if it rains, or even just a brain break, right? If we're working and getting things done and we just need a moment just to breathe, I feel like it would be an asset to the children as well. If they're struggling and need a moment, let them go through the obstacle course, burn some energy, just get it all out, take a brain break, and then re-enter and tackle what was causing that and have an opportunity to mentally break free. I think that it would benefit in so many ways. So my answer would be an indoor manipulative, like hands-on, they love to run and jump and touch and be free, just a way for them to do it and to escape the heat that we can let them go a lot longer. So I would love an indoor play area.
Yes, and I was disconnected, but I would piggyback on to what Arian said on as far as expanding staff support and increasing the compensation so that I can retain the good staff and they're not pulled to the school system. And that way it would directly impact the quality of care that my center is giving to the children. So I think if I was to get a big sum, it would go in the to the staff. Yes.
Yes, and what we know from the State Department's research on the market rate survey and what providers are spending their money on, the majority of it is already going to teacher salaries. And what a lot of providers say that we found anecdotally is that they would love to provide more for their staff to show the financial backing of all the amazing work that they're doing, and also to pay when what some say pay what they're worth. And currently providers are not able to do that because of all of the other surrounding costs that really lean in on being able to have the freedom to pay staff and educators, real educators, what providers would like to. So thank you so much for sharing those things with us. And I have one last question for everyone. What would you want decision makers across Louisiana to know? That is what is most important to know about early care and education?
Well, I think I'll jump in. I think it's kind of been a thread through the conversation, but we really do incredible work in the early care and education space. And I think that what we're all aiming to do is to make sure that we can grow our outcomes in the state of Louisiana. And it's going to start with the resources and investment in our youngest learners. And so in all of the statistics, LPIC does a fabulous job of helping people understand that when you invest in early education, how all the other societal impacts are positively, impacted. So I think that if there could just be some, real discussion around how do we stabilize the revenue stream for childcare providers. Too often there is from one legislative cycle to the next legislative cycle, there is just real concern about whether or not you're going to be able to have the resources to keep your teachers. Will you have the enrollment? Will parents be able to get on CCAP? All of those things make the uncertainty of managing a child care center very, very difficult. So it would be investment.
I would echo as well. Investment is huge. And also would say to recognize that we do, as she said, we are rock stars and we do the work. The educators in this field, you have to have a certain passion and desire to do this. And we want to. So having that investment and having someone in a position where they want to be and they thrive makes it a better relationship for all parties involved. And I do want to kind of very respectfully call out. I was working with a builder trying to do some improvements and is no longer in business because he sold his business to go work for a specific construction company. They just got a huge contract, $143 billion to build a prison. That shattered my heart because we wouldn't need to build prisons if we could get the funding and the investment to educate and love and build them up and build our communities up to work together. And it's also heart shattering that we cannot even get the 143 billion investment and the children we already have that have the ability to thrive, who are thriving. And like my center, who has a wait list, and I'm sure these other lovely ladies have a wait list as well. And as shown in the statistics, with that money, we could expand. And we're a 5-star center. We can expand. And the state wanted to know, what does quality look like? Well, we were given a star rating system, so we know what quality looks like, but we need the investment to spread that quality, and we need the ability to touch them before they get into kindergarten. And we wonder why in our state that 40% of our children in our state are not entering kindergarten ready to learn and read. It's because we don't have the investment. We're not able to touch them before they get there and educate them and help them to get to where they need to be because the funding's not there. And a shadow to Rakisha is, a big kind of thorn in our side is a lot. We are viewed sometimes as a stepping stone, and our staff leave to go to the school system to work a 7 to 3, mostly because they can be home with their children, right? We have to stay open till 6 o'clock because not everyone has a job that they get off at 3, but also they have benefits, they have higher wages, they can spend the summers with their children. So my biggest question to policymakers is, when are we going to recognize our profession, and when do we really want to excel? Because we already know the answer. The statistics already show it, is they need quality education from birth to 5. And we can give that if we have the investment. So I would welcome anyone ready to make the investment, because as you see, we have providers ready who are quality and just waiting for the green light.
Yes, thank you, all of you, for sharing. Is there any other thoughts to that question before I actually move to some of our participants' feedback? Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to piggyback off of what Megan said as far as the state level finding funds to build prisons on the parish level. Our parish passed a text so that they can have over $1 million for a gang task force. Where if you were to do the same thing for early childhood education, you maybe would not need that gang task force if they were able to get the social and emotional support that they needed young so that they can have an attachment and love on someone and have a conscience to when they are doing bad things. We may not even need that gang task force. So it would be very interesting to have policymakers support us with early childhood as they support the prisons and all the other things that lead to the children not having the foundation that they need to.
Yes, we do see in longitudinal studies that children who experience high quality early learning actually not only do better in their educational experience, but have less likely interactions with the criminal justice system. So right behind that one. And we also know that local investment in early care and education is matched by the state. So through our Early Care and Education Fund, if you have any interests, participants about learning more about the Early Education Fund, you're welcome to reach out to the Policy Institute. We do have some feedback actually from some of our participants in the Q&A box. When the question was asked, what do we want policymakers to know? There were some comments about just how it's hard for providers. It's hard to pay for expenses and employee wages without consistently raising the tuition on children and families. The CCAP waitlist is not helping providers or this person's facility, and they experience parenting struggling to afford childcare. We also heard from participants that a cut in early childhood affects everyone, which is true. And it's not just the little ones who are impacted, it's families and our broader economy. And we do have a participant who would actually like to share before we close out for today.
Melissa?
Hey, Maddie, I'm sorry I'm joining late. I had it on my calendar, but life just took over. I just wanted to comment, and I know like everyone is working so hard, and I don't mean this as a bash towards anyone, but I just feel like it needs to be said, and like a roundtable needs to happen or something with leadership. The CCAP process is really just broken. It's just broken. I think all of the providers on here can agree with that. From talking to some folks yesterday at the early commission meeting, that is like the main thing that providers really need right now. We need a CCAP process that is smooth, efficient, and timely. And it's like, what service are we doing for these parents that really need this when they applied a year and some odd months ago? In any business structure, we know that like you touch something one time and that person should be trained to do all the things. The more hands it goes to, the longer it takes. So right now at CCAP, there's 5 teams of people working on 5 different components of CCAP. There's no one for providers to call. No one will talk to providers. A lot of these parents don't have minutes on their phone to sit on the phone for 40 minutes to wait. Like, I know other providers on here, I'm speaking to the choir, but I feel like there is a huge disconnect between us and the CCAP office. And I'm just going to keep like beating my drum, I guess, until someone listens and we can get some type of, I guess, like roundtable together so that like these issues are heard. Because for us, for our center, solely because of CCAP, I have had to lay off 3 of our teachers. That breaks my heart. We pay our teachers very well. All of our teachers make between $15 and $19 an hour. They do have benefits. I pride myself on creating that system so that our teachers do stay. And we went all in on that to provide a quality center. but now we don't have kids because the parents can't afford care. So the money's there. We're getting CCAP funding. We haven't seen any new CCAP approvals in almost 4 months now. So something is not working. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, but just, when we're asking about operational challenges, this is my number one operational challenge that I struggle with every day. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Melissa, for sharing your experiences as another one of our providers in our state. The department is working on moving through the wait list of children who were accepted starting in July of 2023. So like I said earlier in the call, they are about a year back. And certainly if we were able to get some more funding into the CCAP program, they would be able to move through that wait list a bit quicker. But thank you so much again for sharing, all of you, for sharing your experiences. Our state is better because of the quality childcare you offer our youngest children and their families. So really, thank you so much for participating. I would like to turn the program back over to our Executive Director, Libby Saunier, to close us out.
Thanks so much, Maddie, for everything today and for moderating. And thank you all to our presenters that presented today for bringing the real life experiences that you are living with and experiencing with not only your teachers, but the parents that you serve and their little people. We'd also like to thank board members, media members, members of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, and partners for participating in this important discussion. And I have to say, I think this was the best discussion we have had in a long time related to the effects of on our providers in Louisiana. So thank you all so much again. If you have any additional questions or you'd like information about any upcoming Policy Institute for Children events, please email us at info@policyinstitutela.org. To read the full report and learn more about the work of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, you can visit our website at www.policyinstitutela.org. Again, thank you so much to everybody who participated today virtually. We can't do this work without you. And so we appreciate you being along this journey with us, and have a great day.